Both Ibom Air and airline operators of Nigeria acted hastily and in violation of our rights. They became both the accuser and the judge and witnesses in their own cause. Without affording her hearing, they rushed to judgment and imposed a so-called ban on her. It portrays us as a people who have no respect for fair hearing, for allowing the other side to present their own story and getting a total picture of what happened. And this poses grave danger to airline travelers who can, on a mere allegation of misconduct within an airline being leveled against them, be banned by either the airline or the airline operators of Nigeria. That's like jungle justice. I'm not sure that's the kind of image we want to portray. There should have been a hearing. And if after all evidence is in, the grounds exist for banning the person, then the law should take its course. But when, in the heat of passion, without hearing the lady, with the lady hastily charged to court and remanded, and then the charge adjourned to October 5th, and this is just August, and then placed on a lifetime ban, it appears like an attempt to show her that she is a poor person, she is a small person, and she can't do anything. And that's not the kind of portrayal we want to put out there.
And it's even more interesting because a similar incident that happened barely a week ago, the agencies were talking about banning the affected person pending investigation, but none of that,
absolutely.
happened in this case.
That's the individual who in every sense would have appeared to endanger the safety of the aircraft and maybe the life of the passengers, much more than the incident we're talking about.
I want
maybe
you to...
that's a case of different standards of justice for the big man and the small person.
Absolutely. I want you to speak to the viral video of how she was dragged out of the aircraft and how she was stripped naked, and then the eventual leaking of that particular video to the public.
That video offends the sensibility of any very right-thinking person and ought not to have been allowed into public space. Whatever the lady did, the way she was dragged out was beastly. It does not portray decency, does not portray how people in the hospitality industry should portray their passenger, no matter how badly the person had behaved. That lady could have cracked her skull, could have broken her back when she was being dragged. She could have been killed. Even alleged armed robbers and murderers deserve better decency in their treatment. It shows how we treat persons that we allege have committed an offense. And then the worst part is that officials or staff of the airline recorded that and felt able and decent enough and convinced enough that this is a worthy picture exposing her nudity that should be in the public domain. If there was need to put that in video, to tell their own side of the story, the least they could have done was to redact that part of it showing her nudity. It offends public morality and ought not to have happened. It was very unfortunate. No matter how guilty she may be perceived to be, she shouldn't have been subjected to such dehumanizing treatment. It violates her right to dignity of human person. And an airline should not subject any of their passengers to such treatment. It speaks ill of how passengers should be treated, no matter how badly they are alleged to have behaved.
Indeed. We have to go now, but the NBA is now offering our free legal services. What's the update with that? Can you tell whether she's been released on bail?
If she does not have legal representation, our lawyers are on standby to represent her, and we are gathering out information about the trial, and the NBA will be represented there even if she has a counsel to hold a watching brief, because this is a matter of public concern, and it speaks volume about how airline travelers are treated and how they should be treated, and how our judicial system should work in situations like this. This is not the face we want to present to the world.
Most of the criticisms that I've seen about this whole Ibom Air and the young girl saga has been one-sided, very, very biased. I have seen criticisms from Very Dark Man, from Rufai Oseni, Ruben Abati, Charles Apoki, and many more. And all of them, sadly, are biased. They are one-sided. If we fail to balance the criticism and call out the Ibom Air staff or crew for their own share of the blame, for their own guilt, if we fail, and we stop at just blaming the girl for being unruly, then we are feeding impunity fat, and it will come back to haunt us and hurt us, not just now, but in the 2027 elections. Even a criminal caught red-handed still has right to human dignity, or right to dignity of human life. Now, the girl was clearly wrong from what we see in the videos about her reaction. She was wrong. She violated several laws in Nigeria in her response. Public order, she was disturbing the peace. Criminal code, penal code, she assaulted. Now, she's wrong. But even when she's wrong, she could have a defense. Let's not forget that provocation could be her defense. Whether or not she's going to defend herself by saying the air crew provoked her remains to be seen. It's up to her. Now, from what we see, we cannot even confirm yet that the girl refused to switch off her phone. What we have heard is a one-sided narrative of Ibom Air that the girl refused to switch off her phone. But from testimonies that we have seen from witnesses that were present on that flight, she did not refuse to switch off her phone. So that remains to be seen. And I am surprised that people with such great voices fail to see this. Are we saying that because a suspect was caught red-handed stealing money from a supermarket, that gives the police the right to begin to immediately beat and strip naked that suspect the moment they apprehend that suspect? Is that what we're saying? Do we understand what the constitutionally guaranteed right to dignity of human life is? Ruben Abati, very dark man, Rufai Oseni, Charles Apoki. Do we understand what it means? Now, where did Ibom Air go wrong? Because we have established very clearly where the lady went wrong. Even though we cannot yet prove how it started, but from how it ended, we can say, oh, she did this, she assaulted, that was wrong. And in fact, now, it's no longer just Ibom Air. It is the airline operators of Nigeria that very hurriedly came out to ban the girl for life. If the documents flying around in social media is anything to go by, if it is true and verified, they have also come to feed impunity fat. Where was the airline operator of Nigeria in the case of Adams Oshiomhole? Where was the airline operators of Nigeria in the case of Kwamwan? We have not seen them ban Oshiomhole. We have not seen them ban Kwamwan. But very quickly, without giving the girl fair hearing, they breached another right of that lady. They went ahead to ban her for life. That lady, however wrong she was, does that give the air hostess the right to strip her naked, to dehumanize her? Does that give the security, whether that was, they call them pathfinders or whatever those people are, because those are definitely not aviation security, or perhaps they are. Does it give them the right to bundle the girl like an animal out of that place? Does it? No matter what the bylaws of FAN, F-A-A-N, or NCAA, no matter what their bylaw is, it is still inferior to the Constitution. The Constitution guarantees the right to dignity of human life and right to fair hearing for that girl, however wrong she is or was. And definitely supersedes whatever guidelines that the airline is hiding behind to justify that animalistic, beastly treatment meted out to that girl in response to whatever wrong she has committed. So, are we saying that the bylaws of FAAN or NCAA overrides the provisions of the Constitution that guarantees human rights, right to dignity of human person? If the girl was wrong, there are well laid out procedures to correct her. Even the police in that case does not have the power to strip her naked just because she's presumed extremely guilty. No. She has rights. So she can go to jail, but she can still enforce her fundamental human rights violation. She can enforce it. So we must speak to both sides so that our criticism is balanced, because there's a lot of learning opportunity in this case for all of us Nigerians. We are very, 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 very unaware of what the provisions of the law is concerning most issues, and we definitely are beginning to appear as though we don't understand what the rule of law or due process means. It appears as though even people with very, very strong voices do not fully understand what rule of law is. It has to be both sides. Rule of law is not one-sided. Rule of law is balanced. So two wrongs cannot make it right. The girl is wrong. Ibom Air is wrong. And guess what? The airline operators of Nigeria, they are even wronger. Now, another very grievous thing that must be pointed out is the fact that one of those airline crew, the Ibom Air crew members that was videoing the girl, leaked that video either directly or indirectly to the public space. Nobody is talking about it. Even very dark man that has been a victim of this kind of thing, case in point, his case against Femi Falana, even Ruben Abati, Charles Apoki, we are failing to see the violations of Section 24 and others of the Cyber Crimes Act for that crew member of Ibom Air that videoed that lady naked and sent it either directly to the internet or to somebody else to send it to the internet. That person also committed a crime. So it's three-way now. And that person should be fished out by the police, and that person should be made to face the law. So the girl can be in prison, but she has a case against Ibom Air, and we must emphasize it. And then also a case against the person who revealed, who videoed and sent. See, it's one thing to video, and we must understand this. It is one thing to video and keep for evidence. Most of what is termed cyber crimes is not what is recorded and kept as evidence in court or for the court. That's not cyber crime. It becomes cyber crime and cyber bullying when you send it to another person. So whoever it is that is a member of the airline crew, the Ibom Air crew, or the security team, or the pathfinders, whoever they are, that recorded that incident with their video, saw the nudity of that girl, and sent it to someone else to send to the internet, to social media, or sent it to social media himself or herself directly, that person is also guilty of impunity, disrespect for the rule of law, disrespect for due process, and that person must also be brought to justice. This is how to give a balanced criticism of events. We must build a country that is built on rule of law, not a one-sided rule of law, but rule of law that applies to all, the high and mighty. Not rule of law that applies to this girl, but does not apply to Kwamwan or does not apply to Ushiomole. Not rule of law that, in fact, this is institutional impunity. And it's even more dangerous than individual impunity. What happened to this girl, many of you might argue and say it cannot happen to you. Yes, yours may not be that they will strip you naked. But when impunity bites you, you must wound. And if you fail to be balanced in the criticism of this girl in this incident and stop at just criticizing her without calling out Ibom Air for their own faults, then you are feeding impunity. And it's dangerous for us as a country right now, and particularly more dangerous for the 2027 elections.
The Nigerian Bar Association has condemned the treatment of an Ibom Air passenger, Comfort Timason, who's accused of assaulting two persons, including a staff of the airline. A statement jointly signed by the president of NBA, Afamusigwe, and the National General Secretary, Mobolaji Ojibara, described the incident as reckless and a violation of the passenger's right to dignity of human person. The body also condemned the subsequent lifetime flight ban imposed on her by Ibom Air and the airline operators of Nigeria. The NBA says the sanctions are heavy-handed, unlawful, and an affront to the rule of law and human dignity.